Man, things are weird in Canada right now, like super weird. Did you know that I'm still being attacked by BC's premier for just literally existing? Like things that I've previously said on this YouTube channel, such as calling Doug Ford, the Ontario premier, the fat pig with rabies, for wanting to shut off the power to 1.3, 1.4 million homes in America. Apparently that's like a big no-no to say. Also, calling Zelensky a grifter is also a big no-no thing to say. Well, I'm going to one-up it, David Eby. And if you want some more ammunition, how about you look like a depressed Woody from Toy Story? Like it's just on fentanyl, right? Can we say that? Safe supply, right? It's just so weird that I keep getting attacked. And every time I do get attacked by these politicians, me and my family receive death threats. Kind of freaking weird, man. Kind of weird that they just keep going at it. So we're going to start off with a little clip about that. Also, conservatives are just laying down the hammer on liberals. I mean, you've got the whole budget thing, the failure to produce a budget from the liberals, from specifically Mark Carney. It's just having a huge uproar. And no, I know what you're thinking by now. Man, is this guy really wearing sunglasses inside? I'm a little freaking blind right now. I don't know what's going on. My eye's tweaking out. So no, I'm not wearing sunglasses indoors. It's they're reading glasses. I'm working on getting some transparent tints so that you don't think I'm trying to pretend to be a cool guy. We got a lot to take a look at, including the latest update on the Trump tariffs, but not so tariffs, but potentially back to tariffs. A lot to take a look at in this video. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Everybody, before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. And without further ado, let's take a look at depressed Woody from Toy Story, who is obsessed with me. So I actually posted on X saying, I think I'm going to file a restraining order against David Eby because he is so obsessed with me. What a weirdo.
Welcome to a YouTuber named Mr. Sunshine Baby, who he called a true Canadian patriot. Mr. Sunshine Baby posted a video and said, quote, "The fat pig Doug Ford in Ontario is ready to cut off the power and liberals are cheering him on. This is quite literally, by definition, an act of war."
Yeah.
He endorsed the president's attack.
Because, you know, cutting power off, Israel cutting power off to Gaza, or Russia cutting power off to different parts of Europe or Ukraine is an act of war, right? Like that's, you can just chat GPT that, Google it, XAI it. You can type that in anywhere. You could ask the librarian to find you a book on that. Cutting off essential power to a foreign country is an act of war. But hey, I guess I'm the worst person for saying that.
Back on Vladimir Zelensky, calling him the freaking Ukrainian grifter.
I mean, we've spent a lot of money on him. You know, every time he comes here, we send him more money. Is it grifting? Is it act of desperation? I don't know. You know what they say? He's never even said thank you. Not once has he ever said thank you. Those who know, who know.
And cheered on Trump's attack on the president of Ukraine. And that same YouTuber, the Great Patriot, endorsed by the conservatives, apologized to the Americans over the trade war.
I'm sorry. Was I supposed to boo them? Isn't that the Canadian way? Aren't we supposed to apologize? Isn't that literally engraved in our identity? We say sorry for just to boot everything. Hey, Americans, I'll do it again, David Eby, depressed Woody from Toy Story. I'm sorry that we're engaging in a trade war and that Mom and Pa can't seem to get along. Really, I am sorry. I'm sorry that we ripped off all of the liquor from the red states, not blue states, red states specifically, off our shelves at all our liquor stores. I'm sorry that our politicians are weak-spined and kind of semi-retarded. I'm very sorry about that.
I could continue, Honorable Chair, but I think you get the picture.
Please continue, depressed Woody from Toy Story. Like, this is crazy, man. I'm a private citizen. They call me a patriot because I was in the military. That's it. Like, this is absurd. Oh, did you forget to include that, David Eby? Oh, wow. David Eby doesn't like veterans. He doesn't like our military. Uh-oh. Look, it's just bizarre, man. In the great name of Will Smith, keep my name out your fucking mouth. Next up, we've got Stephanie Kusi, conservative MP, who does a sit down with CPAC, who's kind of weird. The guy from CPAC is just always like a weird Like a weird smile. Anyways, let's get into it because we're taking a look at the budget, or the failure of the budget.
So we just heard your Commons leader, Andrew Scheer, criticizing the government for not delivering a budget now, although the government says a budget will be coming in the fall. Why the criticism over this delay?
Well, we're very concerned, frankly, that Mark Carney does not have a plan. As we return to the Parliament, we're very fixated on our 5 priorities, of course: reducing the cost of living for Canadians, getting more homes built, keeping our streets safe, getting our productivity up, and of course, considering our immigration system, which needs to be reevaluated, most definitely. So not having a budget is an indicator of a complete lack of a plan by this government. A new government, you think the first thing that they would do would be to present a budget to the House of Commons and to the people of Canada. So that really is a failure as far as we're concerned in terms of having a plan.
Although, we did see a plan in the throne speech read by the King yesterday, and that is what the Prime Minister points to. He points to the promises he made through the campaign, because in many ways they are a reflection of each other. Why are those priorities that do include a tax cut, the dropping of internal trade barriers, why is that not enough, considering we only really have a month before the House rises for the summer?
Michael, it seems to continue to be a series of platitudes. We did not hear a single thing about pipelines or oil and gas, which are very important for my people, the region that I come from. As well, he has often provided targets, but no specific concrete ideas as to how he's going to achieve these targets. So, for example, as Shadow Minister for the Treasury Board, I take note when he says that he is going to reduce the operational budget by have it be no greater than 2% compared to the 9% we've seen recently, but they haven't laid out a concrete step-by-step plan as to how they're going to do that. He also indicated that he wants to reduce the operational budget, have it balanced, I should say, within 3 years. Again, he creates these objectives, but he doesn't say specifically how we're going to get to them. Pierre Poilievre had a 100-day plan. He was going to have us here through the summer. I'm happy to be back, but I wasn't looking forward to that necessarily. We're seeing a lot of ideas from Mark Carney, but not specifically how we're going to achieve these objectives. And we're going to need to do a lot, considering we have a $1.4 trillion debt and a $61.9 billion deficit as of last year, Michael.
$64 billion deficit. That's nothing, Kusi. That's nothing. Carney's doing like 200 smackaroo deficits per year, man. Like 60 billion, that's gone in 2 months. That's just for Christmas. I mean, this is crazy. These guys are going to put us into so much debt. And then you know who's going to have to solve it? A conservative government at the end of the day. Because the liberals spend and spend and spend, and that's how they think they can just solve the world, is by spending money.
So it makes me then wonder, what can your party work with this government on? Because at the end of the day, as a minority liberal government, they're going to need the opposition support to get things passed. So where do you see yourself working with the government if fundamentally you have problems about not having the information that you say you need?
Well, we will definitely continue to stand up and speak for the 8 million Canadians who did vote for us, over 41%. And they want to see productivity in the way of, for example, eliminating Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines bill, getting rid of C-48, the No More Tankers bill, to harness our productivity. Pierre Poilievre also had the idea of greenlighting the Ring of Fire, these types of initiatives. As to working together, I'm sure you also saw the announcement today Michael, that Mr. Poilievre has committed to our support for the Ways and Means bill. Does it go far enough? No, it does not. But even any little tax break that this government is willing to give the Canadian people, we will stand behind. Mr. Poilievre said, even before we enter the House of Commons, where the ideas are not good, we will oppose. But where they are good, and we think a tax cut is good for Canadians, we will support. So I think that's one example right there, Michael, of how we will work with this government ground when they show they are doing things for the Canadian people.
Now, the government also says it needs to move quickly on projects, and so they talk about both traditional and conventional energy. They've raised concepts of an energy corridor, pipelines as well. You're mentioning specifically C69 and C48, but if, for example, their proposal is to create pipelines but does not address those other, the tankers or the Environmental Assessment Act, will the Conservatives still support them without movement on those other two bills?
Well, I'll point out, Michael, that the energy corridor has been our idea over several election platforms now. And again, I think we're just concerned as to how will these objectives be obtained if they do not eliminate C69 and C48. I'll give you another example. Minister Hodgson was in my hometown of Calgary on Friday speaking to our Chamber of Commerce. He mentioned a one portal window for these projects, but a 2-year approval time. I mean, if we're thinking that a government is within a 4-year term at the maximum, certainly we hope less as the official opposition, even if we start day one here today with a 2-year approval process, I mean, that is a long time before we even start to make the plans to get the shovels in the ground. So we really need to think about, again, how these things are happening, a specific plan, not just platitudes, Michael.
That's the whole purpose of having a budget, is something that you can debate on. It's something that all parties have access to, that Canadians have access to. And the fact that there was a massive failure to provide that just shows that this government does not respect transparency, doesn't respect democracy for that matter. And I'd be saying the same thing about the Conservative government if it were to be a Conservative government. We deserve the right to know what the budget is, how much they plan on spending and on what. The fact that we don't have that, the fact that the only information we're getting in the fall is how much money they're spending, not a debate or anything, it's absurd. I mean, no government has ever really gotten away with just uncapped spending with zero accountability. I know Trudeau got away with a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of criticism towards him, even from the mainstream media. What's going to happen now, right? Is Carney just this messiah who's going to spend even more money than all other prime ministers combined, and somehow that's going to fix the problem? I don't think so. I don't think that that's the solution.
Listen, quickly running out of time, but I do want to ask you, because you are a proud Calgarian, you're a proud Albertan, but we're also in this moment where we're seeing a separatist movement speaking more loudly out of Alberta. What is your thought on the viability of that movement, how Ottawa should be responding to what we're hearing from people willing to take the province out of the country?
I think that this is a critical moment for national unity, Michael. And I believe that Pierre Poilievre recognized that during his campaign and produced policy that would unify Canadians, that would make all regions feel as though they are a part of Canada, contributing to Canada. And I'm not really saying the same thing from the Liberals and Mr. Carney. I'm seeing them talking out of both sides of their mouth, not making any real commitments one way or another. Uncertainty is not needed at this time. What is needed is certainty and unity. I'm just not seeing that from Prime Minister Carney right now, Michael.
And is it just the energy file? Will moving forward on energy and getting oil out of to other markets be enough to essentially quell the concerns being expressed out of Alberta, do you think?
I think it is a significant piece and a major starting point.
I think that Canada needs to start to mend the relationship with America. We should not have cut back on our trade with America. We should have doubled down. We should have done more than ever. If we were doing just an arbitrary number, right? 500,000 barrels of oil per day or 200,000 barrels of oils per day, we should have upped it to 1 million. Like, we should be focused on making money. America needs our resources, even though Trump says that they don't. Whatever. That's his art of the deal shtick, right? They absolutely would love to make some money, and so would we. And because of this weird spite of the trade war, not the trade war, all that stuff, the fact that Canada, or specifically Mark Carney, wants to just put Trump to the side and go all the way to Europe, it's insane. That's so far. It's not going to be as profitable as trading with our literal allies, America. Anyways, now we're going to shift away from those interviews and we're going to take a look at what Stephanie Kusi had to say in the most recent question period. Here we go. All questions! Guess over. Honorable Leader, Representative of the Conservative Party, Stephanie Kusi.
This Prime Minister said that he would be guided by a new fiscal discipline. He said that he would limit operational expenditures to no greater than an increase of 2%. Yet he's presented a bill of $500 billion to Canadians. Single mothers, seniors, small businesses all make a budget before they spend. You would think that a highly esteemed banker would know that and would do that. So is he really committed to a new fiscal discipline, or is he just like the last guy?
He's like the last guy. Oh, here's champagne.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to be back in the House, and it's a pleasure to deliver for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. We are delivering on our plans to make life more affordable in Canada, Mr. Speaker. The first measure we introduced was a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. There are Canadians in our riding that are going to benefit from the tax cut. We're eliminating GST on first-time home buyers for their new house, Mr. Speaker, and we are removing the consumer carbon price from law, Mr. Speaker. Together, we're going to build Canada strong, and I hope the Conservative will join us in that.
Then why did the gas prices skyrocket?
Well, Mr. Speaker, Liberals never learn and they never keep their promises. The Treasury Board President said in the last Parliament that she would find savings of $7.1 billion on high-paid consultants. Instead, this government is now spending another $6 billion on high-paid consultants. The Prime Minister said that he would limit increases in operational spending of no greater than 2%. Yet he's presented a $500 billion bill to Canadians. So who is the Prime Minister going to choose, Canadians or his friends?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Throw some W's down for Ms. Kusi.
Mr. Speaker, it is very clear we have already chosen Canadians, and Canadians have chosen us, Mr. Speaker, to lead this nation, to build a more ambitious Canada, to build a strong Canada, to build the best economy in the G7. Together on this side of the House, we're going to build the Canada of the future, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Calgary,
Monsieur le Président, le Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that he would be guided
I didn't
by
like that one.
a new level of fiscal discipline. He promised to limit spending, and yet now he has brought in legislation that would include expenses of billions of dollars in additional spending despite the complete lack of budget. Even small businesses make a budget before moving forward. Why would a banker not do the same thing? Will he finally show a certain level of fiscal discipline, or is he going to be just like the Prime Minister before him? The Honourable
W
Minister
for the
of Finance and
translator,
National
man.
Revenue.
On point again.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. As she has seen, we are presenting an ambitious plan for Canadians. And the very first measure we brought in was a middle-class tax cut that will affect 22 million people in her riding who will benefit. Then we said that we would be eliminating the GST for first buyers of new builds. That will enable us to have a resilient economy, a strong economy, the strongest one in the G7.
for Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is asking Parliament to approve almost $500 billion in spending, up 8% from last year. Nothing says spend less and invest more like spending more money on high-priced consultants and contractors. That's going up to $26 billion a year, over 35% increase. Wow. Is the kind of change this government trying to deliver to push civil servants out to bring their friends and high-priced consultants like McKinsey back in?
Oh, good question.
Wow.
L'honorable ministre des Finances et du Revenu.
Just lining each other's
I want to
pockets.
thank my colleague for his question. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we're focusing on result. And you know what? The first measure that we have introduced in this Parliament is to help 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. People in every riding. Canadians are watching at home and are wondering, are the Conservatives going to support them? Are they going to support this government? Because Canadians know that we have their back and we're going to fight for them at every step of the way.
The Honourable Member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
The
Prime Minister said he wants to spend less and invest more, but this week his government tabled a $500 billion spending bill with no budget. While 15,000 people use loaves and fishes, the food bank in my riding, this government has increased spending on consultants by a jaw-dropping $6 billion, a massive increase of 36%. Consultants get a $26.1 billion gift that makes every household in Canada $1,400 poorer. Is the Prime Minister's reckless spending the real reason why there's no budget this spring?
The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation, Public Works and Procurement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague for her question. I'm very proud to be part of this new government that's fighting for Canadians day one with a proposed bill that's going to make life more affordable for 22 million Canadians. That's an average of $840 per family in income tax reduction. This is giving real help to Canadians, and I'm very proud that we're delivering on day one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To the member for Long Range Mountains, it's her turn.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims he's different from his predecessor, but the numbers tell a different story. In his own first spending bill, consultants get a record-setting $26.1 billion, up more than 36% in 1 year. Terrible. The government talks about restraint, but this is $500 billion of spending without a budget. Single moms, seniors, and small businesses must budget before they spend. How come a brilliant banker cannot do the same?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister for Government Transformation, Public Works and Procurement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the question a lot of Canadians are asking is how come Conservatives can't get behind the idea of supporting 22 million Canadians with a tax break that's going to make life more affordable for Canadians by eliminating GST on new homes, which is going to help new home buyers. Mr. Speaker, our plan is ambitious to grow this economy, to make life more affordable for Canadians, and I'm hoping Conservatives will see the light and rally behind this ambitious plan for Canada. Thank you.
I gotta say, man, she's a badass. She is very, very good at the debates, very enthusiastic, and I think that with Pierre not being there to represent the party in the House of Commons, I think you're going to start to see more and more people kind of take the torch in the interim. And it was awesome seeing Andrew Scheer for the opener. I can't think of a better person other than Scheer, right, without Pierre being there to take that lead. But Stephanie Kusi is definitely a top contender. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts and comments about that debate down below. Now we're going to shift away and take a look at what's going on with the trade war. And in terms of the judge, is it pause? Is it not pause? Let's get into that video. We have confirmation now that this United States court that's blocking the trade, the trade deal with America that Trump is trying to do with the tariffs and all that stuff, Carney's actually responded. Mark Carney's actually responded, and he welcomes the decision. Of course he would, because that means that we wouldn't really have any tariffs anymore. Let's take a look at this.
A U.S. federal court has delivered a huge blow to President Donald Trump's global trade policy. The U.S. Court of International Trade ruled that he abused his authority, and it struck down most of his sweeping import taxes. The court also blocked the 25% tariffs imposed on Canada, China, and Mexico. The White House attributed those to the flow of drugs and illegal immigrants into the U.S. The court was not asked to address tariffs imposed on some specific goods like cars, steel, and aluminum, which fall under a different law. So those still remain. The Trump administration is appealing that ruling. And just a short time ago, Prime Minister Mark Carney responded to the U.S. ruling on Donald Trump's tariffs. The CBC's Janice McGregor is in Ottawa with the details on that. Hi, Janice. So what did we hear from the Prime Minister?
Today is the second day of what will be about a week of debate in the House of Commons on the government's throne speech that we heard on Tuesday. When the Prime Minister participates in this debate, normally it is an opportunity for him to reiterate, perhaps expand upon some of the key themes we heard from King Charles on Tuesday, but because we had this news late yesterday, there was kind of a new section inserted into Mark Carney's remarks this morning to comment specifically on this legal decision. So let's replay, for people who missed it last hour, this portion of Mark Carney's speech.
The government welcomes yesterday's decision by the U.S. Court of International Trade, which is consistent with Canada's long-standing position that the U.S. IEEPA tariffs were unlawful as well as unjustified. That said, we recognize that our trading relationship with the United States is still profoundly and adversely threatened and affected by similarly unjustified 232 tariffs against steel, aluminum, and the auto sector, as well as continuing threats of tariffs against other strategic sectors, including lumber, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals. It therefore remains the top priority of Canada's new government to establish a new economic and security relationship with the United States and to strengthen our collaboration with reliable trading partners and allies around the world.
If you're the Canadian government, this is good news, but no one's out of the woods yet. So let's unpack why. First, of course, there is never anything certain with the Trump administration. You're going to be talking, I think, with others about
I think we can
the
all agree
likelihood
that.
of an appeal, perhaps all the way to the Supreme Court. This White House, this is so central to the administration's strategy going forward on the economy. It's very likely to seek other powers and just reimpose these tariffs, perhaps using another executive order in the days to come. So there is no sign that this is really the end, maybe just the end of the beginning here. Also, as far as the tariffs that are most economically damaging for Canada's economy and its supply chains, important to note that this decision does not talk about the Section 232, the national security tariffs that affect steel, aluminum, Canada's automotive industry. Those are not lifted by this particular decision. Those remain in place. Those remain a fundamental irritant and threat to Canada's industries. Also, we have to
I don't think, though, that the tariffs are going to be on for that much longer. It was a strong arm thing. Maybe there was additional tariffs that got put on Canada because of the Liberal election. And now that we've seen the election gone by, we've seen how Trump responded to everything. I think we can all agree that there was no 4 or 5D chess move by Trump to get Pierre elected. In fact, it was the opposite. Trump did not want Pierre to get in. He said so. Some people believed it, some people didn't. And now we found out, oh, yeah, no, he actually gets along with Mark Carney. So let's just debunk all of that rhetoric right now. I'm not even going to entertain that ever again moving forward, that there was some, 5D chess that Trump was doing. Now, art of the deal stuff is a whole different topic. But in terms of Pierre getting in, no, he doesn't like Pierre Poilievre. He doesn't want a conservative to be in because a conservative would be very pro-Canada and do pro-Canada things and not tolerate any interference from a foreign leader such as in America. But all of that being said, even Doug Ford, the Liberal in Ontario, well, I mean, the Conservative in Ontario, but we all know he's a Liberal in conservative clothing. Even he's said that he doesn't think that Mark Carney is going, or that Trump is going to have the tariffs on Canada for that much longer. He thinks that we're going to be able to find some sort of new deal, new trade deal. So as we're moving forward with, Carney being prime minister and doing what he does, talking about opening up our oil sector and our gas sector, if he actually does do that, I don't think that he's going to be trading as much to Europe as what he thinks he is or what he said that he would do. I think a lot of that trade is going to go right back to America, and we're going to have tariffs removed, and we're going to be in some economic boom hand in hand with America, which is good. Like, that's good. We should be trading with America and whoring ourselves out to America within reason and making money and making them happy, growing our military, putting more money into our infrastructure. We should be doing those things. So I don't think that we're going to have these tariffs for that much longer. That's my personal opinion, though. I'd love to know what you guys think.
To note that this could potentially be of valuable assistance for a few aspects of Canada's economy. For example, e-retailers. These same powers that are now perhaps on the way out were used as justification, for example, in getting rid of the exemption that had applied to small packages worth less than $800 when they were imported into the States, including by mail, for example. There were a lot of Canadian small businesses that were now being hit by tariffs because of the end of the so-called de minimis exemption. If this stands, that could be good news for them. It is good news for industries originally hit by that first round of fentanyl and sort of border security justified tariffs, not to minimize sort of the kind of bright sparks involved in all of this. But from the Canadian government's perspective, as you heard the Prime Minister say there, this was always, in their view, unwarranted, a fundamental violation of the North American trade agreement, something the Canadian government believes never should have been imposed in the first place. And really important to hear that very kind of last thing that Carney said, which was really a political message to the U.S., that even as they continue to negotiate what they hope would be a more durable partnership based on shared priorities and so on, that they are also simultaneously looking to deepen collaboration with other more reliable, did you hear that word, allies. A bit of a shot there at how the United States now, because of all this uncertainty and chaos, is a less reliable partner, and Canada now wanting to diversify away, something that does have a cost for the U.S.'s economy.
Yeah, they're not going to allow that, though.
Several messages happening at once there in what the Prime Minister conveyed.
And now, Janice, if U.S. courts begin reining in Trump's executive orders, what does that mean for Canada's response?
Well, indeed, some might wonder, could we throttle back, for example, on the counter tariffs that are in place? And remember, those are paid by Canadian consumers and businesses. No action to do that yet. Of course, there were some temporary reprieves last month for certain sectors deemed most kind of economically sensitive to tariffs, wanting to help them, give them a bit more breathing space, time to change their supply chains around so they weren't hit quite so hard. But many tariffs still remain, and no word from the Carney government today about lifting any of those. I think in part because they're not really sure whether this is where this is going, if this could be reversed. We are in a drama of on again, off again when it comes to Trump tariffs. But this kind of back and forth thing in the context of, you know, at one point wanting to send a tough message to Washington, on the other hand, trying to ease relations and warm things up and not make it so hostile. Let's be partners. Let's work together on security. This has sometimes been a bit of a mixed message. When he kicked off a debate on the throne speech yesterday, opposition leader Andrew Scheer took note of this and kind of called the Carney government out, actually, for the way it's gone back and forth in its dealings with Washington.
Elbows back up at the end of the campaign as the final days, but they didn't tell Canadians what they had done. And it was elbows back down when he went and when the Prime Minister met with Donald Trump. The elbows were up, the elbows were down. It was like they were doing the chicken dance over there.
So things like the crackdown on fentanyl, the new border security measures, the interprovincial trade barriers, the efforts to lower those, the things they're working with the premiers on starting this weekend, and also the economic urgency to spend more on military, on defense going forward. Those things, there are good reasons to do them even beyond tariffs. Of course, NATO partners, the geopolitical imperatives of strengthening the military right now. So it may be that in the short term, not a lot changes, notwithstanding the fact that for many Canadians, this ruling is good news.
Janice, thanks for this. That's the CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. And for more from the...
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see how this does turn out for these tariffs and this trade war. But I don't suspect that it'll be going on for too much longer. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes today's video. I'd love to know what you guys think about any of the topics that were covered down below. And of course, if you haven't yet already, I'd like to encourage you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.